The Scharnhorst, the lead ship of her class, a German battleship that led to a lot of sleepless nights for the British during the Second World War. It's soon going to be playable in Battleship Command, a full fidelity simulator that is going to put you at the helm of the ship, but also allow you to man the individual stations so you can learn the systems inside and out. This is a simulator, but it also is going to be a game featuring a campaign with an AI that should not be a pushover. Today we are interviewing the founder and lead of the project, Bracer. We break down what the player experience should be like, what are the gameplay avenues, and how is he approaching the AI. This is a project that I have been following for a while, and it's starting to really bubble up, as it's going to be coming sooner rather than later. If this is your first time here, this channel focuses on multiplayer sim gameplay. If you're into that, please subscribe. Today I'm joined by Bracer, the lead and founder of Battleship Command, a exciting new battleship simulator coming to Steam. And I was very tickled by this project because there's been a slew of new naval sims coming out, but not so much of them coming from like the single ship perspective. And Bracer's really kind of coming at this from a different angle from the other games. And that's why this one caught my eye. Bracer and I have been talking a little bit back and forth, and I thought it'd be good to give some visibility to this game. So Bracer, welcome. How about you introduce yourself and kind of give the background on this project?
Thank you, Enigma. So great to be on your channel. Yes, absolutely. So Battleship Command is a battleship simulator, and you play the role as a captain of a Scharnhorst class battleship during the Second World War. My interest with this project is to simulate a battleship and all the functionality and technology that these ships had during the Second World War, like the fire control systems and the radar and also the propulsion, how these big ships were moving so fast through the ocean. All this stuff is very, very fascinating for me, and it's I feel there's a little lack of games that simulates these things. So that's why I started to build it, because I could not find any games that scratch that itch. And you play the game in a first-person perspective, so you can walk around the whole ship and give orders to your crew, and you can take direct control over many of the systems that are on board the ship. So yeah, a battleship simulator is what I would call it.
So when you decided to take this on, you have like your wishes of like wanting to be on a big boat and to do everything on there. And when you compare that to like your experience or your ability, kind of where were you coming from? Like I haven't really heard of you before, so it would be great if you can kind of give us a background of like what's your history as a video game developer.
Yeah, absolutely. So it started as a hobby project, and it actually came from the idea of me wanting to learn programming. So not so much to build a game, because I was playing a lot of simulator games like the Silent Hunter games and Destroyer Command, and then I was also playing a lot of Arma 2, and at this point I think I was in a quite serious group that I played Arma with, and I got very interested in the fact that you could script missions, and you could make terrains, and you could even make 3D models and have them animated and stuff like that with the scripts in Arma. So I started to play around a lot with modding, and I had been a little bit programming on my spare time before that as well. So I got really, really interested in programming 3D stuff, making models and make stuff happen in a 3D world. So I decided to pick up programming and started a 3D project. And for some reason, I'm actually not sure why, but for some reason, the first thing I did was to try to create a boat with movable turrets. And I think already from the beginning, I called it Battleship Command. Probably I played a lot of Destroyer Command at that time as well. So this was my practice project to learn programming and learn 3D coding, like shaders and these kind of things. And so So more and more I started to do that instead of playing games myself. And yeah, I did that for quite a lot of years. I think this is maybe 8 years ago or something. I started to play around with this, and it started to get quite advanced. And then I started to write about it on the Subsim forums, and kept like a log there. And more and more people start to get interested in this, and I noticed that a lot of people wanted to play a Battleship, because there was this mods for Silent Hunter, for example, and was some mods for Destroyer Command, and there was a interest in this. Yeah, and then let's see. Then at some point, I changed my career and started to study programming for real. But then it was, back-end software development. So I started to work in e-commerce to code web pages and databases, and learned how to program for real, academically. And yeah, and then at some point I totally scratched my old project and learned how to use Unity, and rebuilt the program from scratch in Unity, and that's what I've been doing now the last 3 years maybe. So now it's not a hobby project anymore, but it's a serious project.
Yeah. So if I read it back, basically what I'm hearing is that like you got inspired by like some games like Arma, and you got exposed to modding, and it kind of really just kind of got the hook in you, and you started to really tinker around with things. And this was your first project you really tinkered with, but over time, with more professional experience or education and like coding, and then you kind of revisit it with the new engine, with Unity, and now it's like you kind of are building the game for the second time, but this time it's like when you have the ability to do it, right?
Exactly. So it is my first game project, but I've been coding quite a long time with different kind of stuff then. Yeah.
So basically, this would be a good moment to remind everyone, like, before we jump into the next pieces, how, I mean, the game is playable now. So it looks like you're getting pretty close. And I know this game is not always top of mind for a lot of people in terms of what games are coming out, but I have been following this a little bit in the background, and like it looked like you're getting pretty darn close. So now that you kind of have light at the end of the tunnel, I'm curious about like let's talk about the player experience, and then we'll go into actual like the project plan and like what release looks like. But what are the core experiences you want players to feel in this game?
Yep. Absolutely. So I originally built it as a sandbox in a way. So I've developed a terrain system that you can travel around all Europe, and the Mediterranean is open as well, and you can go down to West Africa. So I have a terrain there, not the whole world, and then I've been developing possibilities for the ships to travel between the different ports, so that the ocean is alive, with merchant ships traveling around, and also warships. They can what is it called? Do patrols from various ports and stuff. So I've been creating this kind of sandbox, and also simulating as much as possible of the player battleship, that the crew can control the ship, that you can simply give orders and say go there, or put some waypoints on the map and tell the crew to travel there, and also to engage ships, that you can simply point in the 3D world on a ship and click on it and tell your crew to attack that one. And then I also have so all these systems, like to actually fire the guns, which the AI can do for you. There is a lot of systems behind that, with there's 2 fire control computers, and the fire directors are connected to the computer, and you need to do the range finding and input the target data into the computer. So all these systems are simulated, and there is interfaces for that as well. So you can, head into the fire director station yourself and actually use this stereoscopic rangefinder to measure distance to target and crank in various data about your target into the fire control computer and actually fire the guns yourself. So I've been building these systems and this world, and then on top of that, you have then various type of missions and scenarios that I've built on top of this. And I guess the game idea that I've had is actually two different ideas. So one is pure naval combat that you can start up an editor and drag in a few ships and let them fight or be in the fight, of course, and fight until the other fleet is sunk, and that's it. More in a way, World of Warships. Two fleets meet and fight, and that how to say, the short-term tactical gameplay. And yeah, so that's one way, pure combat, fleet against fleet or ship against fleet and ship against ship. And then we have like single missions that are more scripted with specific tasks. And these can also be purely combat, like travel out and meet that fleet and destroy it, or travel out and engage this convoy and sink as many tons as possible, and that kind of quick combat. And then there's the other aspect, which is more legacy from the Silent Hunter games, or rather a legacy from the actual ship's history. So you play as the Scharnhorst, which had a quite specific role during the war. As one of the reasons that I chose this ship is the interesting history, that the career that it had. It's quite a specific, special ship in a way that it had quite weak weapons for a battleship. So mostly they were engaged in convoys and hunting merchant ships, much like the U-boats did. And they needed to avoid combat with other battleships. So the other type of gameplay then is more adapted to that type of battle or task, that you need to head out from a port out into the Atlantic somewhere, find convoys and merchants, and sink them as much as possible, and avoid getting damaged, which means pretty much avoid combat with other battleships that are stronger than you, and then make it back to port, that you can live to fight another day. Yeah, so that's more a patrol type of gameplay, or a hunting type of gameplay.
So let me,
that...
yeah. So let me break this down a little bit, okay? Because
Yep.
there's two parts to this. Okay, so basically, the way to play, right, is you're gonna have a quick mission builder, right, which is like, just, it sounds like you can just select like, hey, these ships versus these ships, and like just a mutual face off, right?
Yes.
There's going to be scripted missions, which is like maybe you'll do recreations of something, I don't know, like the channel dash or whatever mission, right? And then things will be placed and there's triggers and whatever, and then you can do that. And then the other part, or the last real main game mode, is going to be a campaign, right? And this is going to be something similar to Silent Hunter, maybe U-boat, right? Because I think that U-boat campaign is kind of a little bit similar, but I guess the only difference with U-boat is you wouldn't necessarily upgrade your ship or do stuff like that. Like, you're just going to be sticking to the same ship, and then basically you go out, knock some stuff out. Your point is you're kind of like a convoy raider, so you don't really want to go toe to toe with like with the big boys, and then get back, get resupplied, and then kind of you can keep doing it, and then try to see how long you could stay in the war, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's correct.
So that sounds great, because that is a really proven formula, right? And I think that's pretty standard, and I mean that in a good way. That's like the full experience that I think a lot of people would expect from like a single player naval simulator or naval game, not even simulator, because a lot of these other games, uh, may not have as much fidelity as you do with your game. Now, my question is, so that's the first part. The second part, and what I'm trying to do is make clear to the audience, like, how do I think about this game? So let me tell you what I think, okay? And tell me
Yep.
if this. I'm trying to put this game in a box, and then tell me if this is the right box, okay? So
Yep.
this game sounds like um, the end state of this project, at release. What it sounds like is that this game is basically going to be Wolfpack, but on a battleship, and it'll have a campaign along with scripted missions. Is that a fair box to put this in?
Um, yeah, I guess that's pretty good. I haven't played Wolfpack really,
Really?
so no. But so I would maybe compare it more to the Silent Hunter games in a way that the patrols or even the scripted missions are a bit more stretched out over bigger area. Now I just have a very vague picture here of how Wolfpack works, but I think there you're more in direct contact with your target from the start, right? There's not so much travel, and you don't need to go and find the convoy, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's okay. So let me be with her. I'm saying this. Bracer's not saying this. So Bracer, you're clear. But I will let me explain. So basically, Wolfpack, which is a really interesting project, is is like a full fidelity sub, right?
Yeah.
And it's cool to like move the levers and do all this, and it's really neat. But the issue is that like the gameplay is like you spawn right next to a convoy. It's like the same couple convoys, and it's just like you can't do anything else. And why I've been really tickled by your project is that like you're gonna have the fidelity, you're gonna be able to learn like how the radar or the fire control systems work, blah blah blah, right? And then also you're gonna have the benefit of having the like a Silent Hunter Type 3 campaign, which I think everyone has loved, right? And this sounds like the best of both worlds because you're getting the simulation along with the gameplay. So that's kind of how I was thinking about it. Does that seem fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, so I would guess then to kind of unpack this a little bit more because you would consider your game like a full fidelity game simulator.
Yeah, that's what I'm aiming for. Absolutely.
Okay, so you said you could walk around with on your own. It's from the first person perspective.
Yep.
So let me ask a quick question: are you going to be? Not really a fair question, but I think it's kind of interesting to frame it like this. But like, are you going to be the only person on the boat?
Uh, yeah, this one is it's a bit tricky actually. So currently, yes, you are the only person. So it is single player, so there will not be other players. But if we're talking like a crew that walks around and does stuff, then it's a little bit under investigation still, because I really loved like the Silent Hunter games that there was other crew walking around and they were animated and doing things, and in even in Silent Hunter 5 you could even interact with the crew, I believe, talk to them and hear their stories and these kind of things. And then of course there's a U-boat. I played it very little, unfortunately, but that level of AI crew that they can walk around and do stuff. I really like that. But yeah, from what I've tested so far, it's on a battleship there's so many people, and to make it feel convincing. So far, what I've tested, is that yeah, you need quite a lot of crew walking around and sitting on every gun and everything for it to be really convincing and immersive for real. And what I've noticed is that if you have too few or if they are poorly done, then it really kills the immersion instead. So currently I'm at a state where it's better not to have any crew than to have a few poorly made models or poorly animated models. So I need to look, or I'm need to investigate what would be a good limit and how high quality should they be, and how I can implement that in the easiest possible way. So I believe it's very immersive to have crew. So it's not just a visual thing, because it adds quite a lot to the feeling. But yeah, it's still a visual thing in a way. It's not a core mechanic. And yeah, so it's a little bit of balancing to do here, because it can also be quite performance heavy to have a lot of animated characters, and they need to have they have to look good and everything. So it's under investigation, and but it's also quite low priority, since it is actually just a visual thing. So a little bit unsure.
Right, but the thing is the visually they may not be there, but they are there, right? Because you are going to be able to issue commands to do things. So you're not sitting there doing every single part of the ship.
Exactly. Yeah, that's correct.
So
The crew can do everything on the ship,
so
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 they
the,
can steer it and shoot and put out fires and stop the flooding and all these kind of things. Yeah.
so this is why I wanted to ask that question, because in Wolfpack, one thing that I have found is that playing with friends online, that game has very infrequent updates. So my friends and I, every time we go play it, we have to relearn how to do everything, and the AI has been really it's not very uh, autonomous. So basically, I think in that game they really want you to do everything. They want you to lift every lever and aim and do all the calculations, which is great because that's part of the game. But the issue is
Yeah.
that because we always forget how to do it, we always screw it up.
Yeah.
And there's no, it doesn't really feel like there's a huge middle ground. But it sounds like what you're saying is that like it's good, like they're there, like manning the station. You may not visually see them, but you can lean on them to do things as you're doing. As you know, you may not want to be the, I don't know, you may not want to control the engines and be in the engine room, but you can sit on the bridge and still have the influence or control over the speed, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's from the beginning. I've been thinking that that everything that the player can do, the AI should be able to do as well for you. Because I'm a bit schizophrenic there about the game. That in one way I want to have everything simulated and flip every single switch myself, and in the other way I actually want to be a commander. So it's a little bit from day to day. So I decided to make everything how to say oh, I don't have the word, but in two ways, that you can either control it yourself or just tell the crew to do it.
Let me also mention one thing too. I think it's also really interesting that you picked a ship that's kind of like a convoy raider, because you're not picking like the Bismarck or the Yamato, right? You're picking one that purposely can't stand toe to toe to the biggest, and I think that's really neat because when I think about Silent Hunter 3, the memories, the peak memories for me were the moments where the campaign switches to like mid to late war, and you don't have, you just can't hide anymore, right? And
Yeah.
like you're underwater, it's dark, you have no idea where they are, you just hear sounds, and those sounds I still remember what they sounded like because they were so scary.
Yeah.
And It's neat because now I'm thinking about like how could a campaign play out being in Scharnhorst, and you might knock out like two convoy or like two merchant ships, whatever, right? And you're like, okay, cool, like that was easy, like defenseless ships, I just popped them, right? But then all of a sudden you get spotted, and it's like, uh-oh, like they're gonna come after you. And now it's like the very mundane thing about trying to sail back to whatever France now becomes a really big challenge because now you have to really evade. You're not a submarine; you just can't go underwater, and you have to kind of are you going to have to smash your way back, or really try to run it and skirt your way back. So it takes the mundane thing and it makes it really interesting, which is just the actual going from point A to point B. So kind of setting the stage for like two questions, which is like one, how are you thinking about time compression? And then two, how are you thinking about the enemy ship AI? Because I think these are going to be two really big things that are going to kind of help influence like how the game's played.
Yeah, so time compression. It works like that. So when you play in the 3D world or a 3D view, then you can have time compression up to a certain speed. Like for example, currently it is like 64 times the speed, and then when you are in combat, then there's no time compression at all. It does not allow you. And then when you head into the map view, then you can go even faster. Then you can go, I think I have it set to 2048 times the speed now. And then when some event happens, then it pops out of time compression. So we'll see a little bit. It needs a bit of work still to make it stable, especially in combat. So we'll see if I'll manage to add in some sort of compression during combat as well, because it sometimes it can be needed. That's for sure. But yeah, you have the Silent Hunter games, so it's very similar to that. And that I think they also had like 32 times the speed while you're in a 3D first person perspective, and then in the map you could go a lot faster, I think. Mostly because the terrain system does not manage to update at those crazy speeds, like 2,000 times the speed.
I guess to be clear, like the like let's say like kind of in your mind, like how is time compression going to work? Like if you get spotted, let's say you sink two ships, right, and then you're sailing
Yep.
away, you put on time compression, and then I don't know, a fishing boat sees you, or a patrol boat or patrol plane, right? And then it comes
Yep.
out of time compression. It's like, hey, something's here, and then it's like, okay, I have to get out of here. And then because basically, I think a big part of the game, to me, it sounds like it's going to be a big gameplay loop is going to be after you get spotted, right? Like you're near
Yep.
Greenland or whatever, or Iceland, and now you have to get back to Brest or anywhere in France. So it doesn't matter where. And I would guess that a lot of that is going to be under time compression, right? And it is the idea is that the air quotes gameplay happens with you trying to plan your route back, and then kind of just you plan it out, and then that's where the thinking in the gameplay is, and then you kind of let it play it out with time compression, and then you wait and see, and if it comes out of time compression, that means you got spotted again. That's kind of how you're thinking about that.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of how it will be for most people. That you, let's say you finish your patrol there off Greenland somewhere, and you want to head back to Brest, then it will be a few days travel time, I would say, from Greenland to Brest. Yeah, probably a couple of days, depending on how much fuel you have left and how economical you need to be. Then you would set the waypoints where you would want to go, and pretty much start the time compression and hope for the best. Hope that you don't get spotted. Maybe a few times now and then you will, depending on what radars you have and how they will work. Maybe you'll jump out of time compression somewhere and do a scan with the radar, or otherwise, if you're lucky, you will manage to just go with time compression all the way back to Brest.
And then how smart is the AI? Like, how are you? Because now it sounds like you're going to have to make, or maybe you already made, like two different types of AI, right? There's going to be the AI in combat, and then there's going to be the AI that's like the campaign AI that's trying to react to you being spotted and trying to block you from getting home, right? So like, how are you thinking? Like, what are you kind of thinking about for the AI?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. You're totally correct. It's there's a few layers of the AI, and yeah, it's a big thing. It's pretty tricky actually. So you can also bring along your own ships. to have to travel with a fleet. So you can have a Bismarck and a few torpedo boats or destroyers traveling with you. So there is that whole aspect that you should be able to command the AI as well. So as you say, there's a few layers. So there's the individual ship AI, which takes decisions of how close it wants to get to fire at you, and decides whether to do a torpedo attack or this pure combat AI, and to avoid collisions with other ships and what else do we have there? Yeah, fire at airplanes. So this kind of a ship AI. So that's one layer, and then there is the ships are also or can be organized in groups. So then there is a leader as well, which keeps the ships in formation and decides whether to stay in formation or to engage or stick near the convoy or this kind of thing, more group AI. And this one is also quite complicated, because in the beginning I noticed when I put two fleets against each other, it became like what is it called in dogfighting, when all the airplanes are together in a ball, like fur ball or something like that, right? So it became quite like that all the ships got blended together. They get quite close to each other, and that was a problem with that group AI. So now they're staying more in the group. They are holding their line and keeping a distance more. So you'll see groups keeping distance to each other a bit and firing at each other. So that's the next layer. And then comes, of course, that more strategic layer, which will be more work for the campaign. There will be like an faction manager or someone who has the intelligence about where you have been, where ships are sunk, and that little bit keeps an eye on its own fleets and dispatches a fleet to search a specific area, for example. So I want it to be as clever as possible, but it's tricky, definitely. They don't always behave as you want them to behave, and sometimes they do super good stuff, and you're like, how did you do that? How did you think that was so clever? And then sometimes they're like, seem like they have no idea what they're doing, because there's so many situations you can end up in.
Okay, so basically, you cook something up in the kitchen, you put it on the plate, and it was spaghetti at first, right? In terms of like spaghetti being like a little ball of a bunch of little noodles. In terms of like all the ships were just kind of getting into a big fur ball and kind of brawling.
Yeah, exactly.
So now, you've evolved them where they hold their lines and stay in groups. But combat back then was interesting. Before aircraft carriers ruined everything, there was etiquette back then. And what I mean by this is like they held their line. Like, are there is AI going to be doing like torpedo attacks, trying to break up formations, deploying smoke, like kind of like how much depth is there to that, like the AI's arsenal?
Yep. So torpedo attacks are in, that the small ships can charge in and send torpedoes. There's plans for laying smoke as well. So the tricky part a bit, where I still have quite a bit of job ahead in front of me, is that there wasn't a lot of combat between fleets during the Second World War, actually. So there's not a lot of examples to draw inspiration from. What would happen if Bismarck turpits a couple of the Scharnhorsts and a larger fleet actually met a larger fleet from Royal Navy. How would they think? What did they do? Everything was so. Well, I'm not a naval historian, so I don't really know all the examples, but it felt that they acted quite impulsive, and spontaneous on the actual situation. And so it's hard to say what would a fleet do if they had a few torpedo boats and a few cruisers and a few battleships. What's the how to say rules of engagement, or what would they do? And in this game, there can be an enormous variation of situations that the AI really need to think or figure out: do I have a chance in this combat, in this battle, or not? Should I run away, or should I engage? Or if they're protecting a convoy, who should go after the enemy, and who should stay with the convoy? Or should we simply stay with the convoy, or should we try to sink the enemy that is approaching us? So the AI will need to have a way to estimate the situation, evaluate the situation, and maybe decide whether to try to retreat or actually engage. So there will have to be this evaluation between fleets, which one is the strongest, and do we have a chance or do we not have a chance? And also that thing is torpedoes the strongest weapon we have in this specific fleet or squadron? Should we go for that, or should we go for the heavy guns? And what weapons does the enemy have? Is it stronger battleships, or should we stay at a distance and fire, or should we get in close and fire to be able to defeat their armor? So this type of AI will be quite a big thing, the group versus group AI, where they evaluate each other and decide whether to fight or retreat.
Okay, so it sounds like it's very top of mind. In my let me think about this. I have like a really hot take. I hold on. Do I want to say this? Yeah, I guess my hot take lately has been that so I don't really play a lot of single player games that much anymore. I play mostly multiplayer.
Yep.
It's not that I don't like single player. It's that I feel like a lot of single player games have really bad AI, and it's like very, it becomes very, it's like too easy. Most of the single player games I play are like narrative driven, like Red Dead Redemption 2 or Baldur's Gate 3, which are wonderful games. But when a single player game has really good AI, like Silent Hunter 3, like that was like super immersive, and I didn't really care about not having multiplayer. So hearing you talk about all the different things you want the AI to be able to do, or to air quotes think about, is very good to hear, because it would get it would be, I think in today's time it would be acceptable to some people, where if you had a full fidelity battleship and you would just tinker around with it and learn all the systems and then just like shoot targets, and that's kind of the gameplay loop, right? Like that would be an acceptable game, I feel like, in the market today, because a lot of people just like the fidelity. But I think for like a really good game, it needs to have that, plus like the whole this open world Silent Hunter 3 type of campaign with an AI that's like trying to actually, where like it actually is a threat to you and it's not just like a target. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's one thing I've thought a lot about as well is that for sure you can have the clever AI, but then as a player, how do you know that it is clever? Because you might travel out to the ocean, then sink a convoy, and all of a sudden comes two battleships and sinks you, and you think it's just random that you met them. And so I mean, what I want to say is that if you have a good AI, you also need to somehow let the player know that there was thought behind this. It was the fact that the AI had these two battleships nearby, and they responded to that. You were out there sinking this convoy, and that they reacted on you. So, so I think parallel to the AI, it's just as important to show this stuff to the player, that maybe you intercept radio messages, or you get some intelligence from some U-boat patrolling out there that they saw these battleships change course, or in that way also let the player know that the AI is clever. So this I also think is a big part of the whole. It's connected to the AI coding in a way that you also, in a nice way, let the player understand that the AI is thinking and reacting on your behaviors, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay, so we are. I have one. I had a couple questions about Microprose, but before we switch to that, so basically, like, what's your? We are in December 2025, right? What's kind of like the broad brushstrokes, like the plans for release? Because you're not quite done yet. So, like, what are like the things in your mind, like the big things that are done, what needs to be done, and then kind of, and then what else needs to be done that you're not really sure about? Kind of like, how does this break down?
Yep. So so we have most of the mechanics done, and the functionality, with a few small exceptions. So I guess mostly I want to work now on the user interfaces and UX. The whole feel of the game, the feel of the buttons and the controls, and also it needs a lot of optimizations and to balance the graphics. I've been pushing a lot of the graphical things for future, because I wanted to get the mechanics done first and see how much performance that requires from the game. So still needs quite a few models and improve the visual fidelity. And then it's content like more ships and missions. So it's it's a lot of polishing and making it user friendly, I would say. Then there's the campaign, which is more in the planning stages at the moment, which is probably will not be in the initial release. And I guess more than that, I cannot really say it. It's nothing is really clear yet about the release plans. So I guess I better not say nothing, actually, to be on the safe side. I'm sorry, I don't have more clear answer than that.
No, it's all right. I mean, you can't overcommit. When this question is asked, you never really know how close. But I have been watching the development, and it definitely definitely looks like it's moving along. So I'm really excited to see. I've seen some screenshots of maps, which maybe I just like maps too much, but I was like, oh, this will be interesting. And how the campaign will actually look like. So it's interesting because it's interesting because like when I think about the naval games that I really liked a lot, it really kind of just boils down to Silent Hunter 3, like way back when, and then there was like nothing.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, like, we're getting naval games, it feels like all the time now, and it's also really nice because they're not like really overlapping at all. Like Task Force Admiral, I'm really excited for, because I really think they did a really interesting job of how they set up like the fog of war in that game. And Sea Power is great because it's like covering something that like has not been covered in a long time, and you have your game, which is coming out at a completely different angle. And the common thread with these three is that they're all related. They're all associated with Microprose. And what I've been really curious about, and I've been talking to Microprose for a while now, but I'm just kind of curious, like, just some background, like, what's it like to get with Microprose? Like, they're definitely an interesting bunch. They're getting a lot of games off the ground. So I just would be kind of curious, like, what's it like working with them? And yeah, I'm just kind of curious where you go with this.
Yep. Yeah, it's really really great. So I still work on it myself, but I get a lot of help with like there's a 2D artist who is great working on the UIs and map, helping with that. And then I also get ship models. This is one of the great aspects of Microprose, that they have collected a lot of naval game developers. So there's a lot of how to say, oh, pardon my English here, I don't have the words, but interchange, that we can exchange knowledge and help each other out, because I'm in contact with the guys from Task Force Admiral, for example, and the Sea Power teams. So the modeler for Task Force Admiral is making ships for me as well. So I get help with these things that are a little bit my weaker skill set. The art stuff. So that's great. And then they have a lot of competence, knowledge inside the Microprose. So it's so good that you can ask questions about game design and ask for feedback. That's really valuable. When you've been working on a game yourself, you get very what is it called, narrow-sighted. So it's nice to be able to discuss with people about the game design and ideas and get feedback. So it's really really great to be with Microprose. Feel very supported. And I also think that what to say, the market in general, the types of game that Microprose has fits quite nicely with the Battleship Command, or rather Battleship Command fits between those games that Microprose has released in the past.
Let me ask you: do you think there's something going on with naval games right now? Like, are you getting? Do you feel like? I mean, do you feel just super lucky that like your game's coming out with all these other big naval games? Like, do you think there's just a lot more like consumer interest in these type of games? Like, I was actually talking to Wolfpack 345 last night. We were kind of talking about this a little bit, which is that like it just seems like there was like a drought of these games for the longest time, and then like it's just maybe a lot of different people, developers, had the same idea, which is like, oh, this is like underserved. Let's start addressing it, and now it's like boom, boom, boom. Like all these new games that are all naval related are coming out. Like are you kind of, do you feel like just the timing is incredible, or what?
Yeah, hard to say. We've been working on these games for quite a lot of years, right? Sea Power and Task Force Admiral and also Battleship Command. So it's I still think there's too few of these games. We need more of them. And I don't know. Maybe there it's a few years back, people felt that there was missing something, and we started to develop these games. But I still think there's too few. I hope more people will pick it up and start working on these games and bring this history to life, and this interest for these ships.
So, Bracer, you said it all. You're working on a game that's full fidelity simulator. You're working on a full fidelity simulation of the Scharnhorst. That's going to include scripted missions, quick mission builder, campaign that'll allow you to navigate the not the whole world, but a big chunk of the world, and to raid convoys and go toe to toe with the Royal Navy. And the AI is not going to be a pushover. It's going to have a strategic element to try to find you on the map, and it's going to have the ability to do things like smoke and torpedo runs and line battles in an engagement. There's also going to be AI on the ship where you can issue commands for it to do stuff, so you don't have to sit there and press every single button. And all of this is happening across a larger trend of a bunch of great naval games all coming out under a lot of them under the Microprose umbrella, and we're feeling pretty good, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I'm into it. Anything you wanna shout on into the void?
Oh no, not really actually.
We said it all.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Any predictions for next year?
Well, I hope to get it out as quickly as possible. Actually, that's the plan, and I hope to get people playing it. I really want to open up the game as quickly as possible for people to play it and see what we can do with the game. There's a lot of I see a lot of comments. Why can you not add this and this ship or add this in this theater or multiplayer and these kind of things. And I want to do all that stuff actually. I have very grand plans for the game, but it has to be scoped down that I can manage to release it within a reasonable time. So I'm so eager to release it and see what people enjoy about the game. If they enjoy to command the ship, or if they enjoy to sit on these specific stations and work with them, and then I would like to expand the game, towards what people enjoy about the game. If it is, if they rather want to have more ships to play, or they want even higher fidelity of some systems, and I'm really looking forward to develop the game together with the community, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. You know what you made me just think about is I'm really glad the theater that you picked, and I'm really glad you're not doing the Pacific with this, because my I don't know if I really think this, but I just say it because I think it's funny, and
Yeah.
it might be directionally true. But I've been thinking to myself more and more that like carriers are they're too much, and I think as soon as you have carriers like be present in things, especially like the the late war carriers, like they're just so powerful that they just like everything revolves around them. And I think with this era that you have, like I mean, I know the British had like those little carriers, but they're not like the big ones that they just carried biplanes and such. So I'm kind of excited for these battle cruisers or the battleships to be kind of the focal point, because I think it's a really interesting era. It's like the Battle of Jutland was like the last real big one, and then you kind of got snapshots of something like that in World War II, but the carrier was so powerful, it just kind of took center stage of everything. So I think you're kind of like in a really sweet spot with the ship that you picked and the theater you're in. So I'm excited. I'm kind of curious. I don't think I've ever really done a simulation of any of those systems, so I'm kind of excited to learn more about it, and we'll be keeping track of your game. And thanks for thinking of the channel. Was excited when you reached out, so I'm glad that you thought of me and the channel to kind of get the word out.
Yeah, thanks, Enigma. Great to talk to you. I really enjoy your channel, so it was a real pleasure to actually get to talk to you.
Great, thank you so much.